So for people, because a lot of people are uneducated, testosterone therapy, right? TRT.
Yep.
Known as okay, cool.
TRT, testosterone therapy, hormone replacement therapy.
Okay. My immediate thoughts were, oh, is that like steroids?
How's it going to hurt you to run diagnostics on yourself at least every year? Know your baselines, and so it's 100% performance enhancing. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to be performance enhanced.
And a lot of times I feel like as entrepreneurs, that's when we get pulled out of, that's when we make our biggest or quantum leaps. Where we're like, I'm willing, you say you're desperate to do anything to get out of that depression state.
Yeah, I always think back to Eric Thomas, who I spent some time with as a mentor. And I go back to, really that story that put him on the map. I don't know if you ever heard it before, but it's the guru story when he talks about the guy that goes and talks to the guru and he's like, how bad you want it? Yeah. And he's like, you're never going to be successful until you want it as bad as you want to breathe. Yeah. And when I tell you, I probably would have done anything. I'm talking about like anything. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it was right or whether it was wrong, that's where I was at. And that's where all that energy really came from.
Fire, bro. Shout out to you for getting yourself out of a rut. God don't get us to that next chapter in our life unless we pass the test. So shout out to you for that. So let's get into this. The testosterone therapy, right? TRT?
Yep.
Known as? Okay, cool.
TRT, testosterone therapy, hormone replacement therapy.
Okay, all synonymous. Same thing.
Yeah.
So for people, because a lot of people are uneducated, right? Like when I heard about it, being ignorant, my immediate thoughts were, oh, is that like steroids, right? Not knowing. So can you break down for the people how testosterone works, why it's beneficial for us to be checking on us, our blood levels and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really try to break people away from that stigma of, is it steroids? Now, I will tell you the truth. It is performance enhancing.
Yeah.
It's 100% performance enhancing. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to be performance enhanced.
Right.
And so, but at the end of the day, we're just talking about biology here. You go back to biology, if you get any kind of basic medical education and you see a lab report, blood report with hormones, it's going to have your testosterone level on there. It's going to have your estrogen levels on there. It's going to have things like DHEA, which is a pro-hormone that builds these things up, and all these different indicators on there. Well, those numbers mean something, and a lot of people don't understand. They're not educated on it. And so what they think is a symptom of something else, a lot of the time goes back to your hormones. And I always tell people, like, look, if I could go and I had like a little control board for you, like that's over here, and I want to move some levers around, I could toy with your testosterone, your estrogen levels, and some other hormones, and turn you into many different versions of you. A sad you, a confident you, an angry you, a you with a high libido, you that doesn't want to ever think about sex, whatever it is. And so people don't understand a lot of time when they're going through these emotional things in their life, they're going through physical change in their life, they don't understand and they're not being educated. It goes back to these levels. Yeah. These levels are what makes you. It's just like a computer, like a robot.
Right.
And so when you're able to go in and optimize something that maybe not at the level that it used to be, through the aging process, it's the morbid way of putting it is that, look, as you get older, the reason why people get soft, the reason why people get forgetful, the reason why people basically start not having sex as much or not want to go to the club as much or whatever it is because you're essentially dying. That's the morbid way of putting it. That's why older people look different than younger people, different stages of life. So what are we talking about when we're talking about aging? We're talking about sagging skin. We're talking about the inability to keep muscle mass. We're talking about gaining weight in places you didn't want to. We're talking about your wife or you or your girlfriend not wanting to touch each other anymore. Y'all sleeping in separate. All these things that people are like, well, that's just normal. Well, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And so when we go in and we look at a man or a woman's hormone levels, we're looking at what's optimal versus where you're at. So if what's optimal is at 800 and you come in and you're at 300, well, that means, percentage-wise, you're less than 50% of the person that you want to be. And if I got another guy that's your age who's in your peer group and he's optimal and you're not optimal, now you're a suboptimal human being.